Welcome to today's programming tutorial. The first thing you want to do is be sure that you click the link below this video so that you can access this project. You'll see a little shark underwater. As soon as you get there, be sure that you are logged in, and you definitely want to press this green remix button. Again, if you don't see this button, that's because you have not logged into Scratch. So let's log in and remix this. Now you have your own copy, and we will start to take a tour. So first thing I want to do is take you on a quick tour of this program. You'll notice you have a few sprites. You have a player, you have a fish, and you have a puffer fish, a different kind of fish. So in the player, basically when the game starts, he just swims forever. And swimming, basically, what does swimming mean? Swimming means he's going to follow your mouse. So you can drive him around with your mouse. If you're on an iPad, you can touch the screen and he'll swim to where you touched. Also, anytime he touches a fish, that fish will tell him a secret message. The fish will say, hey, you've eaten a fish, and the shark will hear that. He will close his mouth, play a sound, wait a little bit, open his mouth back. So at this moment, if you give it a run, you'll just see that he will follow my mouse, and he has his mouth open most of the time. He will hear when he touches a fish. When he receives that message that he touched a fish, he will respond by closing his mouth, playing a sound. He also responds to touching that pufferfish. So that is what you have at this moment. All that code is already there for you. What we want to do is we want to have a scoreboard for this game. So if you've ever been to a basketball game, you know there's a big scoreboard that tells you how many points have been scored. What we will need is called a variable, and a variable literally is just going to be like a scoreboard. It's a place where you can keep track of how many points you have. Let's make sure we're on the right page. Be sure that you are in the player's brain, and then I'm going to scroll up to the top. Again, you can click in the white and drag if you want to, or you can scroll up with your scroll bar. And you will see, okay, when I receive start, forever I'm going to swim. So make sure you are there and you see that code. And what we are going to do is we are going to build a scoreboard. So take your mouse over here to where it says variables. Variable is just a really fancy word for change. So I'm going to create a variable, which is just something that can change, and it can change because the score changes. So then up here at the top, you will say make a variable. It wants to know the name of this variable. Let's just call it score. Now you'll notice it automatically shows it to you up there, which is fine. So literally it is like a scoreboard. The score right now is 0. Boom. What we want is we want this to update at the appropriate time, but we need to be sure that you start the game with 0 points. So let's do this. I will take this block, set, and I'm going to put it right here. When I'm in the shark's brain, when the game starts, I want to set the score to be 0. So if the last time you played you had 4,000 points, when you start the game, you should start with 0 points. Change is important because change will look at what your variable is and then adjust it. Now, again, when I say change, I want to change the score. And the only important thing is we need to make sure we put this in the appropriate place. So in the shark's brain, I'm just going to say, when I hear that I have eaten a fish, I'm going to change my score by 1. Now, once you have that, watch this magic. So I'm going to eat a fish. It became 2. It became 3. That puffer fish is really on my nerves. Go away. Oh, it became 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's break down what's happening. Every time the shark touches a fish, it will go grab the number on the scoreboard. So at this moment, it's 10. Whatever that number is, adds 1 to it. It becomes 11. It takes that 11 back to the scoreboard and would replace the 10. And so that's how the scoring works. If you wanted to be really fancy, you could say every fish is worth 5 points. And so that's up to you. You decide how your scoring system works. So 5 points, 10 points, 15 points, 20 points. Just depends on what you want. I'm going to just change it by 1. So pause the video real quick. You want to be sure that you've created that variable, that in the beginning you set it to be 0, and that every time you eat a fish, it goes up by 1. So you've adjusted your score, you're ready to move on. What we want to do is have a way to win the game. So again, I'm going to scroll back up to when I receive start, forever I'm swimming, but I don't want this game to go on forever. That's a really long time to play a game, right? At some point, I need this game to be over. So what we want to do, let's go over to control, and forever is not the best thing here. Repeating a certain number of times, that will not work because that will say only swim 10 times or only swim 50 times or whatever I put there. I don't like that. I am looking for a repeat until. So I want you to play this game until it's done. So let's switch out. I'm going to take my swim out of this dinosaur's mouth and throw that dinosaur in the trash. See ya. And then I'm going to put this repeat until, and then I'm going to put that swim back in that dinosaur's mouth. This dinosaur kind of has an eyeball too. So, or maybe that's his nose, I don't know. So what we've got is we want to know when this game is done. So what we want to do is eventually you get enough points you can just be finished. We want to repeat until you have enough points. So let's try something we've never done before. If you go to operators in the green and make sure you get the one that says equal. It's about halfway down. I don't want the greater than or the less than, I want the equal. And you'll notice that equal fit right there. Ka-ching. Keep swimming until, and then think of this as your stop sign. When do I want you to stop swimming? Let's go to variables, and you'll notice that in variables, I can actually pick up the score right here, and it fits right there. So this right here would say keep swimming until your score equals 50. Well, that's a really long game if you're scoring 1 point per fish. So I'm just going to put a 5 there, and we can adjust that later depending on how you want your game to run. But basically this says swim until, keep swimming, and then this is your stop sign. Stop when your score equals 5. So let's try this out. See if I can get 5 points. Here I come. Whoops, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. Okay, 4 points, 5 points, and now notice my shark is not swimming anymore. He's still eating. It's kind of awkward, but he has stopped swimming. Remember how loops work. When you have a loop or a repeat block, it really does kind of go through the code, it sets the score, and then your computer gets stuck going around in circles. Swim, swim, swim. It keeps doing this until the score is 5. When the score is 5, it will leave this loop and it will move on with its life. Now, right now, I don't have anything down there for it to move on to, but that's all right. What I would love to do is, when this is done, I would love to move to the winner screen. So I'm going to go to looks, and let's switch our backdrop to the winner screen. So now, when he is done swimming, then we will switch the backdrop. So here we go. So you can, again, adjust the stopping conditions. You can throw in some fancy stuff down here if you wanted some more extravagant winning conditions. I want my shark, watch this. I'm going to move him to where I want him, right there, and I'm going to grab a glide. I want him to glide to 5 -71, which will put him right there. And if you want to be super fancy, you might try something like this. So whatever you want to do when he wins, you just want that after he's done swimming. Boop, he'll switch the backdrop and then do something fancy. We've got a scoreboard, which we've never had before. We can make decisions based on that score. That score can end the game when the score reaches a certain point. We can add points to that score, which is awesome. Also, I would like for you to think about what happens when we hit this other kind of fish. So if you scroll down just a little bit, this is what he does when he understands that he has eaten a fish. And if you go over to the right, this is what he does when he understands that he has touched that pufferfish, because that pufferfish looks like it would hurt if you tried to eat it. So he'll turn a weird color, he'll look sad, he'll play a sound, and then he'll go back to normal. So you notice that he's already responding to that. Whoops. Right? So here's what I would like for you to do. Think about what you want to do with your score when you hit that pufferfish. So you could either set your variable, set your score, or you could change your score. Now remember, setting your score wipes out whatever you had before. If you have 400 points, then you set it to be 0. It erases it all. You could add or subtract. You could put in a negative number. That would decrease your score, but now just understand the difference between set and change. So just depends on what you want to do with that pufferfish. Do you want it to reset the score? Do you want it to add to the score or subtract from the score? Whatever you want to do. So take a second, pause the video, and you make a decision about what you want to do and how that pufferfish will affect the game. Okay, so for my game, I decided that pufferfish will erase my score completely. So that makes it kind of hard. I have 2 points and went back to 0. So I have 3 points, 4 points went back to 0. So that makes it a little harder to win the game because he will erase whatever score. I got 4 points, 0 points. So just depends on how you want to handle that. It might be like the golden snitch for you and you score a bazillion points just for grabbing that pufferfish, whatever you feel like. Some other things that you might think about if you want to play around, again, adjust the score, adjust the winning condition. Maybe you want to win with 100 points. Maybe you want to win with 400 points. And you can adjust the behavior of that special fish. So play with that. If you are still looking for a little extra challenge, I'll give you a little extra credit here at the end. If you're done, then you can press stop and be done for today. But if you're looking for something a little extra, I'll show you how to deal with another variable. So here we go. I'm going to go to the fish. So again, this is just if you feel like an overachiever here. In the fish's brain, what we have is that they swim around. They swim. Every time they swim, they take 3 steps. So they've got a lot of stuff going on in their brain. What we could do is we could have the fish. Right now, they always move at the same speed and it does not change. But we could use a variable, which means to change, and we could use a variable to change how fast they swim. So here it comes. I'm going to, in the fish's brain, I'm going to go to variables. I'm going to make a new variable. I'm going to call it speed. And you'll notice speed shows up there. If you don't want to see it up there because it kind of looks like it's part of the scoreboard, you could uncheck it here to make it go away. Of course, when you start, now we have more options here, so make sure you press speed. When the game starts, I'm going to set their speed to be 2. Go on a trip with me. I'm going to scroll over to the right. Keep scrolling till you find what it means for them to swim. So every time they swim, they take 3 steps. Here's where things get interesting. I'm going to pick up this speed, and I'm going to put it right there where that 3 was. But if you want to be super fancy, take a trip with me. I'm going to come down here to find this part that says when I start as a clone. That's kind of weird. Down towards the bottom, you have, he's telling the shark that you ate a fish. What we could do is pick up a change, and we could change the speed. I'm going to say change the speed by 2. So that means, think about this. Every time a fish gets eaten, he says, hey, shark, you ate a fish, and all the fish are going to speed up a little bit. And so as the game goes on, it gets harder because, so take a look now, they're moving with speed 10. And that makes that, in my particular game, when I reset the score, that's extra bad for you because now I've got to get 5 more fish, but they're moving faster. So if I keep resetting my score by getting the bad fish, then it's going to be harder and harder for me to get those 5 fish because now they're moving with speed 16. So play around with this game, change the score, change the winning condition, change some of the animations, make this game your own. But congratulations, now you know how to keep score in your video game.